The move you're not seeing. I've known Kaihan Krippendorf for over a decade, and I've always loved his work on strategic thinking. He's an author I keep coming back to, and his book Outthink the Competition still shapes how I think about strategy years after I first read it. So when I recently sat down with him, the idea I most wanted to get into was the one I find most useful, what he calls the fourth option. Here's the setup. Every leadership team I've ever sat with can quite easily generate three options: option A, option B, option C. They debate them, stress test them, and eventually pick one. The thing is, those first three are almost always the obvious ones, the logical, linear, likely moves that follow directly from what the team already believes. And the best thinking, the move that actually changes the trajectory of a business, is usually something very different. Kaihan calls that different answer the fourth option, and the fact that teams only see three isn't a problem to fix so much as a strategic opportunity most of them walk right past. His argument is straightforward. The three options a team surfaces aren't the universe of options, they're just the ones that came up first. The fourth option, the one that actually changes the trajectory, is almost never in that original set. Why three isn't enough? When a leadership team sits down to solve a strategic problem, the options they generate are shaped by what they already believe is possible, their industry assumptions, their existing business model, their past experience with what works. That's not a failure of intelligence, it's simply how human thinking works. We pattern match against what we know, and the catch is that the best competitive moves are usually the ones that break the pattern everyone else is still following. The fourth option is what it looks like to push through the logical, linear, and likely to reach the strategic and counterintuitive. It isn't a compromise between the other three. It's a fundamentally different answer that becomes visible only when you question the assumptions baked into the original three. Most companies lose not because they're outworked, but because they're outthought. What finding it actually looks like. The companies Kaihan has studied that found their fourth option shared a consistent approach. They didn't just brainstorm harder, they changed the frame. The starting question isn't which of our options is best, it's this. What are we taking for granted about how this market works? What constraint are we treating as permanent that might not be? Who is winning in a completely different industry with a surprisingly similar underlying problem, and what did they do? Those questions feel uncomfortable, and they should. The fourth option almost never comes from a comfortable question. I've seen this play out with clients over the years. In one instance, a CEO I worked with had plateaued after a strong run, and his team had three options on the table, all of them variations on what they'd already tried. We pushed past those and eventually landed on a channel partnership model nobody on his team had seriously considered. Within 2 years, it was generating 30% of new revenue. He didn't need a better option B. He needed to find option D. The real constraint is courage, not creativity. Here's what I've noticed. Once a team actually finds their fourth option, it usually feels obvious in hindsight. The harder part isn't seeing it, it's having the conviction to pursue it. In the four forces of growth, I describe courage as one of the four forces, the thrust that moves a company forward when fear is pulling it back. The fourth option is exactly where those two forces collide. It looks unconventional, the board might push back, and it means admitting the current playbook isn't enough. Most leadership teams see the move before they take it. The gap isn't awareness, it's will. Challenge. Take your most pressing strategic challenge and run it through this one question. What are we treating as fixed that might not be? Give your team 20 minutes to answer it seriously before your next planning session and see what shows up.